we register every sale and transaction of every property in Scotland. That's the interesting bit. If the prices go up, if they go down, if they stay the same, we can always get media coverage of it. However, we also have a slightly more pressing challenge, and that's getting 8,000 conveyancers interested in their main subject, which is the Land Registration Etc. Act. Now, that Act will take effect from the 8th of December. It was described, rather thrillingly, back in 2011 by the Daily Record as the dullest piece of legislation to come before the Scottish Parliament for that whole programme. Slight uphill challenge, but luckily for us, our stakeholder segmentation is very targeted into conveyancers. Now, it's not just solicitors, it's paralegals. That's why I use that terminology, as well as lenders as well. So we've got quite a defined target audience, and we've been communicating with them for 30 years. But we needed to communicate them with much more effectively, and we needed to get them to go through a very significant change process. We have a stakeholder group who are very varied. You've got very young paralegals. So there we go. I'm good at, you should do a ding every time I hit a stereotype. But people who are a little bit more digital friendly, right through to getting green ink letters from solicitors who refuse to stop using cheques and go to direct debit, and everything in between. So that was one of our challenges. That was our stakeholder group to look at. We also had to get 100% awareness. Now, the 100% is quite a scary total to be aiming for a comms campaign, but it is essential because the changes affect everybody involved in conveyancing. Huge changes internally, huge changes externally, and we had to get that across to them. Registers of Scotland has got a large number of staff who've been here for a very long time. In fact, a couple of years ago, 85% of staff who've worked here have never worked in any other civil service department. So there's a lot of corporate knowledge, and they were able to tell us fascinating stories about in 1979 when the last generational change of land registration took place, and they're also able to tell us about another change where there were queues right round into George Street, not from Meadowbank, we used to have an office in Queen Street, but still very significant. And these were real problems for us, and that was despite them going out and meeting face to face with virtually every single legal firm. So we knew what the challenges were. These were the same people who hadn't embraced that change and had left it to the last minute. So how were we going to manage that? Digital platforms, obviously we are adhering to the digital first strategy, and also all of the benefits that brings to us, both as an organisation, but also making sure that information, etc., is up to date. And I'll show you a little history bit in just a few minutes. But again, we knew that our customers preferred paper. We were constantly asking them with various techniques, hinting, trying to move them onto more digital platforms. But really, many of them like to get a nice piece of clearly done paper. They even liked us putting in the hole punches for them to go into a neat folder if we did any changes. So again, part of the challenges. The other thing was, how much is enough? We had an awful lot of changes to do internally, but how much do we actually have to do for the solicitors? They're the ones who'd be charging the customers further down the line. You know, what is the right balance between us spoon feeding them or else, you know, encouraging them and making that information available? And it was important to get that right as well. Because of course, you know, a lot of money is being spent on this and this campaign, and we need to be able to justify that. So our main priority was looking at the website. Now, if you've done your research before you came here, our current website is on a 15-year-old platform. It's a long story, I won't bore you with it. It won't be for much longer, but it currently is. So to get the functionality that we needed, we've built a microsite which is part of that website. The customer doesn't see any difference, but it gives us the flexibility that we need to be able to show video, to do click-throughs and be a much more interactive website. All the channels that we've been using have been driving the customers to that website as well. That's the conveyancers, the solicitors. It's been extremely effective. I'll come to results later on, but as you can see, everything from postcard campaign, it's go to the website, go to the website, go to the website. This is where we want them to know that they can go to get the information as we move them on to those digital platforms. Now, I told you it would be a little bit of history. Back in 1979, solicitors were sent a beautiful leather folder from Registers of Scotland. There we go. This is going in the museum you might have seen downstairs later on once I wrench it out of the hand of our registration director. But that was the practice guidelines. They each got handed one of these. It told them what to do step by step, ignored the fact that they had a legal degree and had spent at least 4 to 5 years studying it. We took on the responsibility for making sure that they knew what to do, even though there was an act there. We then thought that was a bit old-fashioned, so we then put it in a different kind of hardback book. I think that was probably out of date before it got in the post out to the customers, but they do love it and they still use it with all of the post-its in it. You're obviously working out there's an information currency issue there. But moving on from that, we had to do updates and we used to send them out. I haven't shown the hole punches on that, I do apologise, but they did get those and they slotted them into that folder. What you see on the right-hand side might not be hugely different, but this is a PDF, it's got a date on it, we're not sending it out to them, they have to download it. If the information on there is wrong when they're using it, that's their fault. It's a different change for us because we keep telling them, go back to the website, work from that website. That's where the information is going to be for them. So I think you'll accept we've got quite a change to get across. I did start later, if I'm going to get dinged by Jerry. Now, this is you saw the website before, that was during the campaign. We're now into the 50 days to go. That started on Monday, we're actually at 48 days. That counts down every day. It has actually helped create even more impetus in the building for what's going to happen. We've got new products we need to promote. We've got updated news we want them to pay attention to. And as you'll see there, we're pushing them really, really hard to keep signing up for updates so that we can make sure that they get that up-to-date information as they go through. Results is really what this is about. You will have spotted 8th of December. I can't actually tell you how this works out because we have still got 48 days to go. And in fact, one of the techniques that we've introduced, if they get it wrong with these new processes, normally we'd have to charge them a rejection fee because we have to cover all of our costs. There's no central government funding, it all comes from fees for registration. And so we're holding off on the rejection fees until early February before that kicks in. So effectively we'll see what the pain point is in February, but we're driving towards the 8th of December. Main targets that we were looking for, I mentioned that 100% awareness. We've done a couple of surveys, direct surveys of our customers, and the first one we did back in November after the consultation, we got 76% awareness. Obviously that's within the people who returned the survey, but still we were impressed at how high that was for this group. And the most recent one that we've done has come back at 98%, so we're nearly there on that measurement side. Obviously the proof is going to be in the pudding. But going back, the consultation response that we got for 52, now remember that's for the dullest piece of legislation in front of the Scottish Parliament. We regarded that as an extremely high figure. And also the consultation was the kick-off for our awareness campaign. It really worked very well for us. The web stats, just this year, we're getting 88,000 hits. Now that's to an organisation which I bet many of you in this room didn't actually know what we did. But those are the actual 2012 Act pages, that's not the whole website, so that's really important to us. They're getting the message. We're running road shows at the moment and we get them to fill in a feedback form. It's out of 10, just in case you thought 8.5 was out of 100. It's out of 10 for the satisfaction score. And one of the comments, and many of the comments we're getting is, I'm going back and I'm going to have a look at the website. Because when they arrive, they don't get a beautifully bound book. They just get a folder which has the website address on it, reminding them to go back. And that's reiterated through all of these face-to-face briefing sessions. So 1,750 conveyancers are going to be spoken to face-to-face. We're doing visits, we've got account managers. They've been to over 300 legal firms. We are doing everything reasonable, and I would suggest way beyond reasonable, but still in the cost-effective side of reasonable, to make sure that our customers know what the changes are and when they're coming. So I guess you're going to have to come back to us on the 9th of December and see how successful we've been. Thank you very much.